Welcome to the Joel Fleischman Happy Hour Podcast, episode 95. Welcome, Oyvind. Cheers.
Thank you very much, Joel. Cheers. That was a surprise, slightly earlier in the day than I typically do.
Yeah. Cheers, everyone.
I noticed the brand.
Yep, that's Drexel Horse Medicine. It's getting a little bit old, but we got to drink it up. So, horse medicine is what my grandfather, who was German, very German farmer here locally, he always called his beer horse medicine. So I was a young lad. He would say, "Go get me some horse medicine." I'd go to the fridge and I didn't know what he was talking about, so I would just grab beer, and that was always. He'd laugh. He'd like, "That's good."
I love it.
So horse medicine.
I'll try to spread that tradition to my grandkid and see how it goes.
Call it horse medicine and see what he does. So welcome. This is Oyvind Solvang from Hillcrest Builders, all throughout Wisconsin, really southeastern Wisconsin mainly. Main office is in Glen Beulah. Welcome, Oyvind.
Thank you.
The only Oyvind I know.
Yes.
You know any more Oyvinds?
This is the first.
Yeah. How many Oyvinds in Wisconsin have you ever met?
There are actually a few, and including with my same last name, and I haven't met him, but so that's all right. And as far as builders go, I think I'm it.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would hope so. So obviously, unique name. If you're listening, you might already picked up. I think he's got a wonderful accent. Give us your background, if you could.
Oh yeah, how much detail do you want? Half hour?
Yeah, it's your show. It's your thing. Whatever you want to get into.
So born and raised in Norway. As part of that, my brother and I both competed in skiing, cross-country skiing. We're at a pretty good level.
Which was big deal there.
There's a big deal there. That's the most publicized winter sport, period.
So it'd be comparable to basketball here, or a top three, baseball-ish?
Yeah,
probably not football, but...
No,
okay. Well,
they do soccer, but as far as
soccer would be their football.
Would be,
yeah. Okay.
So anyway, when I was after my compulsory military service, then going to college, and I was planning to go to school in Oslo, and then I met a buddy who said, "Oh, come over to Utah because they have a ski team there, and there's an open spot." So a week later, I'm on a plane because it was late in the process. So I spent 5 years at the University of Utah, studied mechanical engineering, and also then competed NCAA skiing. And so we won the NCAAs, and then I coached the team the last 2 years there, and so we won it then as well. And so that was a fantastic experience, just seeing all the, again, Utah, but driving all over the Intermountain area and so forth. Then I went to business school in Chicago at Northwestern, and then ended up in Milwaukee, worked in investment banking, private equity, and I also ran a couple of manufacturing companies for a while. And then eventually really I bought a hobby farm in Greenbush, Sheboygan County, and wanted to spend some more time there. So with a tenant, Todd Hellman, we started a company. He was my tenant at the neighbor farm, or the farm that I owned there. And we started developing some land and then started building, and it sort of took off from there. So I spent first a day a week and then 2 days a week, and then I said, okay, we can do something with this. So we went in full bore and started out in Sheboygan County only, and got up to say 50 homes a year, and then hit 2006, 7, 8. Went to almost zero. Actually, Sheboygan County was probably extreme in the country because we went from 30 permits a month to 30 a year.
Right, and for those of you, when I say we may be back in 2008, which I don't think we are this year,
right.
That's what we're talking about. Like when I say we got to get ready for it, it's out there somewhere for those that haven't lived through it, which is probably more people than, and like Marcus, you weren't part of that. We probably have more people that weren't part of it than were in the construction industry right now.
I was graduating college in 08, and it was just kind of oblivious to it.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
30 a month to 30 a year. Can you imagine?
And
we all survived it.
We all survived it, but it wasn't easy.
Correct.
So when sort of coming out of that, we ended up, well, first of all, I said to myself, I got to build ourselves out of it because we were sitting with land's sucking capital because, subdivisions weren't selling. And so we started building and started growing territory because, again, so I thought to myself, I don't ever want to be that concentrated, both product and geography. So today we go from Door County to Lake Geneva to Madison, Green Lake, And we have broad products. So we do affordable housing, including our new Jackson project that is exciting. $315,000 for a home, full package. To higher ends, our Brookville subdivision, $1.5 million homes. And we straddle that whole design and price point then, as well as doing condos. 5-6 years ago, I said, when rates go up, I want to be half condos, because that buyer, 7 years old, is not as rate sensitive. And so that's now we have 10 locations in southeast Wisconsin with duplex ranch condos. And so we're diverse, and I like that. Drexel comes with us everywhere.
Yes, thank you very much. That's great. Yeah, no, it's been fantastic partnership. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I got to interrupt you. We got a little bit off of your personal life. You still live in your Greenbush hobby farm property.
Well, so I lived in Mequon, but after a change in personal life, called divorce, I moved up to the farm full time and lived there, and I love it. I mean, it's in the Kettle Moraine Forest. I can mountain bike right out my back door.
Is it similar to Norway?
It's similar to Norway, where I grew up. Where I grew up, which is southeast Norway, pretty close to Oslo, we had sort of moraine landscape, moraine geology, topography, and it's exactly the same kind of landscape. So that way, but of course Norway, you go out west and you have fjords, and I don't see those in Wisconsin. Exactly.
and I've been on your property. It's beautiful. It's very rural, and it is I'm assuming a homestead property.
Yeah, it's a homestead property, and then I've added some to it. So I have trails there that I can cross-country ski on. So I groomed there, and I can ski with my dogs because I can't go on the public trails and do that. So now I decided, okay, we're doing our own here.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
that's great. So people have really asked me.
Yeah.
When this comes up many episodes. What do you love about your job the most? And it is the people, but I say, the builders. Like, I get so excited to meet people like Oyvind, because the builders are. It's wild how unique people end up in the building industry, and I think we have the coolest builders, coolest customers of any industry you could be in. So keep going. Yes, go back.
Thank you. Well, yeah. I mean, that's the long and short of it. We do. We're not, call it builder grade level, so we do a step up in terms of insulation, particularly. We, and interior product, and then we customize. Does that
go back to your mechanical engineering mindset to some degree?
It's a little bit of that, and a little bit of getting tired of. We started out, with laminate countertops and the likes, and I don't like the. Let's say it this way, it also comes from having built a custom home before I was in the business, where it was obvious that the tactic was to see, start at the budget and see if they could double it on me, Mm-hmm. And I just didn't like that. So we want to be affordable, and we want to have product choices that let's say if more than half our customers want it, we'll build it into the standard. Otherwise, it feels like we get them in the door and let's upgrade the heck out of it.
Bait and switch.
Yeah. So it comes much out of that. Our building insulation and other technique things, there it's helpful to have some technical background, let's call it. But then again, I was never a framer, but those guys know what they're doing, and now we're doing more panels so that we don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic. Good. So what excites you the most? Which line of your homes? You get excited. You're passionate about all of them. I know that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
What keeps you awake at? Let's just rephrase the question, because that's kind of interesting. That's not a great question. What keeps a guy? We just learned this whole story, right, Marcus? Diverse guy. You got to be intrigued. Like, what keeps you up at night currently?
Currently,
what's your head chewing on?
It's always about business coming in the door. I mean, it is, as a business owner of any business, and especially, so we're not a manufacturer, so we can't just sort of have distribution and we know that we have a baseline that unless something strange happens, it repeats itself. We got to start over every year, and so it is all about incoming business. So
it's important for us as Drexel to help you sell your next house.
For sure.
Right? So
sure.
And what does that mean? Having really, really good price, good products, and some advantages for you, the builder, for buying from us.
Yep, and so exactly. And so we, that it used to keep me up where, staffing issues and so forth. We have the best team. So at my age, I'd like to sort of ease up on the operational stuff a bit, because that is the toughest part of this business. Because we try to operate like a manufacturer, but we're not. So there's always a problem that we didn't see before or needs my attention, and now I have a staff that I feel that I can sort of step back from that, and that gives me a better quality of life. I mean, I didn't mind it. I'm sort of like to be busy and all that, but now I look at product and selling, because ultimately for me, yes, we have other salespeople, but a lot of people want to deal with the owner, and so that I think and I enjoy that.
And you enjoy that?
I enjoy it. Yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
What do you think? Talk a little bit about your project in Jackson, if you could, because I know that you and I talked about it. I know that excites you. What's exactly going on down there?
Yeah. So there are different initiatives throughout Southeast Wisconsin, and more are trying. And the Jackson one started with, in part, Washington County having received some government money to spend towards housing. The biggest challenge in, call it, affordable housing, which is what Jackson is aimed at doing, and to get more, call it, stable workforce, because if people can't afford to live, then they go somewhere else, right? So, and we have the same program type of thing in Sheboygan County and the other counties that I'm working with now, and that's very exciting to me, because if it can be put together, then you have a product that in a sense sells itself, and Jackson does. And so the biggest hurdle to new development, meaning new housing units, is the cost of land development. And it's not just the cost of it, it's the hurdle of it, because the capital is significant. I mean, you can't just build one lot at a time. You got to build out, so there's millions of dollars that are needed. So what these programs try to do is lessen that hurdle for, if you will, developer builders. And so the Jackson project is a combination of Washington County and the village of Jackson. The village did a TIF. And so effectively it becomes affordable lots. And then we build that into the home lot package. As part of the home, though, we had to, find economical ways to build, because we're selling homes for $315,000 single family, full package, lawn, driveway, the whole thing. That's sort of, we have people calling saying, there's got to be something, that's not with a lot, right? And so when it is, they sold overnight, and we're doing more. So I think that's exciting, not the least from a sort of society point of view, that people can live in a new home, and then that frees up other homes that can perhaps be more affordable, again, for people to be able to live and work locally. And so the village of Jackson has been very progressive. It's been a bit of a challenge, because it's new, new thing, and they're functioning as a developer, and that villages or municipalities aren't used to that. So we have a great partnership, and it's exciting, and we want to do more of it. There's definitely more need for it around.
I don't think we've had a developer on yet, so I get a couple development questions, because I don't think people quite understand it, and they think you're making money hand over fist, and it's easy, and somehow it's. I have a perception that, hey, Oyvind's in with this guy, and he, everything's growth, and yada yada yada. There's a need for it in every town. Sitting here in Camelsport, there's a need for lots.
Yeah.
And there just is a need for it. People cannot even find a place to rent. But if you had a 20-acre farm field, which you've done this before, how much would that cost you out of pocket to make those into lots?
Oh, assuming then
something like that, 20 acres, 40 acres. Let's just do 20 acres. I think 40 acres may be too big, but
and assuming that there's sewer and water to the land, meaning that it's not a
joining,
rural subdivision,
right, so it's at least adjoining, right?
Full service sewer and water subdivision, and obviously paved streets and the whole thing.
Yeah, because there's lights, the light fixtures.
Yeah.
Like, who pays for all that?
So the developer does.
And I don't think people understand that.
No, the municipality doesn't pay for a thing, including their own engineers standing there checking if you're building the roads right. They charge you for that too. That's the convention.
So it's actually a great advantage if you live in that town. People think they're usually against new development, and it's kind of foolish, because those people are going to pay property taxes and actually deduct your water bill, your utility bills, because there'll be more of a shared cost that way, and that's really going to help you.
And it's very interesting to watch how different municipalities are. And we, of course, want to work with those that are progressive and try to eliminate hurdles, not add more hurdles.
Yeah, I mean, some villages really, truly don't want to go, and some do, and that's just reality.
So back to your question. So what does somebody have to do? First, engineer it. Then that has to be approved by the DNR and the local engineering by the municipality. Engineering includes how the sewer and water goes, stormwater. It has to have a pond. There has to have stormwater go into the pond. Then the master
And the cost on that might be?
Well, with all of that, you're probably, let's say they are third-acre lots, because that's another thing. People
Right.
say, okay, why can't it be an acre lot? No, it's prohibitive to do that. So third-acre lots, 20 acres, say you get 40 lots.
Right,
Because
roads,
obviously
short a lot,
40
cul-de-sacs,
lots.
yep.
Yeah, 40 lots, and let's say
Retention
you do it
ponds.
in one phase as opposed to two-phasing it, because that obviously
Right.
has some staggering capital, but let's say it all is done at once. So 40 lots, and it costs at least $60,000 per lot. So
And-
$2.5 million plus the land. And so the saying these days is, you can get the land for free and still go bankrupt as a developer.
And there is no guarantee.
No guarantee.
Right, so you can buy the land, you do your engineering, you're in for $1 million,
Yeah.
or maybe before you execute it all.
Right.
So you're in for $1 million,
Right.
and you find a dead end. Mm-hmm. Literally, the DNR says no. This
Well,
isn't,
that
there's
you
a-
probably hopefully get approved before, so that's
It's kind of hard to do that, though. Always, it's
Yeah.
still a risk. You can buy it, but not have it all fully approved. I mean,
But you try
there's a
to-
commitment to buy that land.
But even let's say you get it and all of that.
Yeah.
And then the absorption goes slow. And so typically you do things with bank debt.
Yeah.
And so for people who think that developer builders today make a lot of money on the land, they develop the land to build houses, and that's about it, and so you break even
Because
on
it's
the land.
$60,000 per lot.
Yeah.
And now in 2008, we were probably at 40,000 in 2008,
Yeah,
30,000,
35, 30.
35. And you had some. This is a kind of a fun conversation, I think. I even connected you with that at that point with some developers. You bought a few lots coming out of that from developers that foreclosed. Nobody won them. What's the least you bought a lot for? Do you remember?
And that was typically buying it from the bank.
Yeah, you don't have to say what town or anything like that.
No,
but
yeah.
what's the least you bought a lot for
Well,
coming
we-
out of it in
We were
11,
down
12,
to
13?
we bought a couple for $8,000.
Yeah, $8,000.
And then we bought a bunch of it from banks in different locations, including
Banks are horrible
condos.
realtors. Once they get it, they want to just dump it.
Well, right, and so
Which is that's what they do.
well, and so that was good for us. We bought quite a bit of that, so that sort of got us going again, if you will.
And there are still a few lots left from 2008 in the very corner regions of the world that Oyvind does a great job of finding those
It's so
that are
funny.
still out there.
It's so
That's
funny.
how bad it was. That's how horrible it was.
And so you get that in what I call tertiary locations, smaller towns and so forth, and the developer just sort of gave up, and it's just sitting there. But each time you find it, I said, this must be the last one. Because if you're in the greater Milwaukee market, all of that's been, of course, recycled
Right.
a long time ago. And I'm just looking at another one. Someone said, oh, here's one condo project that's in, because they don't know how to do it.
Yet somebody's
stuck.
paying proper taxes on that. Beyond the 2.5 million, then there's property taxes that immediately incur on that on a
for sure.
developed property.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a treacherous business, and for people who think that's easy money, that it is the most difficult thing of our entire industry to put that much capital in and call it hope for the best. And so that's where
It's not for the weak of heart.
no, and we what we like to do, and then if we can partner more with municipalities, that they participate with TIFs, tax increment financing and so forth. So the financing part of it is more, you call it less risk, then that helps. And that's what we're going to see.
How do they say that on a lot of podcasts? Tell me, like I'm a fifth grader, what is a TIF?
So TIF is a form of financing that allows a municipality, and by the way, a TIF cannot be only residential. It has to have a commercial/industrial element to that TIF district. A TIF district doesn't have to be completely congruent, but it has to be more or less in the same area. Then in that district, everything that gets built does not pay property taxes for for school and so forth. So there's a period of time that if you will, the property taxes collected pays off the debt that the municipality has incurred for it. So it's very popular with certainly commercial, multifamily, and it's a mechanism that municipalities should use as much as they can, especially smaller towns where they want the growth, and to leverage that into it. So, for example, Jackson, that was done with a TIF, that project.
Right. Example, in Kewaskum, our new manufacturing facility for doors and millwork was a TIF. North Wrightstown, our truss plant was a TIF. We essentially, we pay for that land out of our pocket or through a bank,
Yep.
And then we recover those costs by not paying property taxes.
Right.
So the government doesn't give you a big shiny check like you had a hole in one. At no point do you get a deposit into your account. You just avoid property taxes for a certain period of time. But overall, the municipality grows from that because they get the residual fee after that, obviously forever.
Yeah.
And they get the soft things of bringing manufacturing in, which creates more jobs and more restaurants and more vibes that they're looking for the progressive ones.
So TIF is important. Another approach that I'm working with is partnering with the guys that put in the pipe, because they didn't take a haircut along this whole while, and so they're doing quite well, and they could be good partners, and so we're working on a couple things like that too. When you've got to find new ways to partner, basically.
Wonderful,
Yeah.
wonderful. Marcus, you must have some questions by now. You're usually pretty good at this.
Yeah, so obviously, starting off Norway, Utah, skiing, mechanical engineering, I want to know, in terms of where you're at right now and just your experience, with building, since 2001, what did you learn from the MBA and Northwestern? Anything in the Chicago area that's you've taken from that to kind of what's been, the last 20-some years in building?
But so the thing is, I learned, call it in school, a framework, sort of reference points in various disciplines. Funny part is, when I started the building company, and my least favorite topic in business school was accounting. The first thing that I did starting the building company was cost accounting, thinking through and making sure that the accounting is straight so that you know what it costs you each time, and to have the right method to track that and so forth. So, of course, that's something that you wouldn't just have the background in if didn't have it in school. The engineering background is more structural / it's not technically the same, but it gives me a methodology to call it analyze things. And that's helpful, not the least. I have customers right now, high-end, super energy efficient, where the technicalities become endless, if you will. People have questions, and I do say that my education there is very beneficial to get better framework for it. Other than that, I probably learned no more through other experiences in other jobs / businesses over the years, including investment banking, private equity, but because to understand capital structure and to understand in any kind of arrangement, including with customers, trying to structure a deal that we're trying to sit at the same side of the table as much as possible. And that's something I learned in not the least private equity, that you want to structure things so that you don't have opposing interests. And that's the same with supplier, builder, all of that. Try to be on the same side of the table. Same with customer.
Yeah, we've really been using a lot of last 24 months is really everything we do, we try to bring a chair into our meetings. Mm-hmm. What would the builder say? Mm-hmm. We try not to ever have a meeting that doesn't say that we stole that from Jeff Bezos at Amazon. What would the customer want? And for us, that's the builder.
Yeah.
So let's not talk about the builder like they're not here. They're sitting right with us. Our decision has to be for the builder. The product lines we brought in, the price points that we establish, our delivery methods, whatever we do, all has to be completely focused to our customer. And if it's not, it's a complete waste of time, because you're going to say, I don't care, Joel. I don't want to pay for that. That's not what I need. And you're right.
It's true. What I think Drexel does better than any, but certainly most, and that is, key partners for us are our subs. And our subs are of...
How many subs are there? Mm-hmm. I think I've asked that every builder we've had on.
Yeah, but it always kind of fluctuates a little bit.
But in your opinion, how many subs do you think takes to build a home?
Well, it doesn't take that many to build a home if you have the same sub
No, but we meant like, from the excavator to the plumber, electrician, we think it's around 20, mid-20s is what it actually takes of all the teams you have to hire.
subs and suppliers. So keep in mind
yeah,
that
subs and suppliers, right?
yes,
every
for sure.
every wheel's on the
Yeah.
everybody that comes to the job site, probably
Yeah.
mid-20s, somewhere around
Yeah,
there, I
something
think.
like that.
Yeah, it's a tremendous amount to build a home.
Oh, it is.
What a racket.
It is, and so we try to simplify that. At the same time, to be cost competitive, we have to be. So we have to treat our subs well. The most important thing for the sub is what? Yes, of course, it's the price point, but it is not to be idle, if you think about it. So if they can have a steady flow with us, and then
It goes all the way back to what you said. What keeps you up at night? Where's my next job?
Yeah.
Where's my next customer, my next builder, or next homeowner that wants to build? They're going, where's my next job, right?
That's for sure. And I say to them, hey, take a little less for the work, but you don't have to spend any time, call it bidding, as they call it, go out there and try to get work. You go from one to the next, and then you get more and more efficient and productive. That's where you should focus. And we're pretty good at that, and working that. But not the least, then if material is missing on the day, and yes, our agreement with them says count it all ahead of time and look forward, but they're not perfect that way. So if the deliveries are messed up, and we had that not with Drexel, but Drexel continues to get better and better at that. I use that as an example. If we're not happy with there are things we don't buy from Drexel, and I use you guys as an example because it's so important for that sub, and there's nothing that ticks them off worse.
It's lost time, which is lost money.
Yeah.
And they can't control that.
No.
I don't blame them one bit. They
No.
should be upset.
And so that's where our system, our documentation, which over the years has improved and improved, and I think is excellent, and our communication, which is now more software and integrated software. And that's the other thing. So we train the subs on that, and Drexel is right in that, so that it all flows. That's by far the most important for them.
Kurt's not here. He's been your salesperson for a long time.
Very long time.
Hi, Kurt Domus.
Yep.
Shout out to you. I know he's probably nervous listening right now.
Kurt.
We know Kurt. He's nervous that we even brought his name up, right?
Kurt was with us before Drexel.
Yeah, so probably over 20 years.
Yes, over
it's
over
gotta
20
be.
years.
Yeah, which is a long time. And you have seen different. I've wondered if you've seen any change in Kurt since he's reduced accounts. In the last 6 to 8 months, has he been able to give you some more time?
Well, let's say it this way.
It's a loaded question because if you say,
Yeah,
you'd be like, no, I haven't seen any change,
No,
right? So
yeah.
it's kind of a cook question
Not
here.
like
I realize that.
But I can tell you, I'll answer a slightly different way because I don't necessarily see the detail of that.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you're not on that day-to-day job site.
But it's far and few between, and when I call that Kurt doesn't pick up. To me personally, that's a huge deal. And A, and B, when there's a question, there's typically an answer within whatever you'd expect, whether that's 2 hours or 2 days, depending on the matter. And to me, again, plain phone tag, hugely unproductive for somebody like me, right? Same with you, I'm sure. So that's how I gauge Kurt, as well as if there's an issue, get it resolved. And we don't. So let's say there's an issue with flooring. Flooring is probably the most difficult product.
It can be, yes, it can be.
If you think as an industry.
I always say flooring is emotional.
Mm-hmm.
There's a art to it. It's a color thing. It's an emotional thing. And if you think of a tile shower, there is nothing more. Every single day you take a shower, there's no distractions, and you're going to see that. Now, if you have a problem with your soffit or roof, you might think about it once a week.
Yeah.
You will think about that tile shower every time you set foot in there, and it will drive you crazy. So
That's
I agree
why
with
we
you.
don't do tile anymore, Bill.
Exactly.
But anyway, yeah. So flooring. So as an example, and if there's ever something, so I feel I can call Kurt, even if it's not called his department, and you have strong people in that, but you take care of the customer, you take care of them for us, and that, again, because warranty can kill you, and warranty poor response, so we had issues with it over the years, and now we are as good as any, and we're going to stay that way. And,
Shout out to Kathy Kelly, who takes care of these guys. So
Yeah,
she's a good egg too. So
Yeah,
I
that's
remiss
very
without saying that to her. But that's consistency of the product too, and putting good products in. When we started working with you, we were offering you unintentionally I don't know about unintentionally, this is 10 years ago when we were doing flooring with you, and originally it was a perception that you wanted, because you're a good businessman, you have good background in financials, and you come across very intimidating. We offered you cheap products, right? And what did that do? You're like, that's a great price, bring it in, which you should have. But we didn't have your back, it was just a cheap product line. And then our team was intimidated by you, which is a good learning lesson for everybody. Did you tell Oyvind it's cheap? Well, no, I didn't. I don't know what to tell him. Tell him we sold you some crap. We can't put them in your homes anymore. We need to upgrade you, and it is going to be 12% more, $300 more a house. But I can't sleep at night thinking that the next home's going to be bad. And we've been through some of those things.
Yep, we've been through it.
And that's a reality for any builder. That's not just Oyvind at Hillcrest. That is having real transparent conversations with the builder, saying, I don't feel comfortable at that price point or that budget, even on a $315,000 sell house, because we're just going to have straight callbacks. You just got to be, again, you have to sit on, that goes back all the way. You have to sit on the side of their table and actually help them.
Yeah,
Not,
and I
it's
can
not,
tell
it's
you.
not an arm wrestling match.
No, and I think, not because it's a current topic, but since then we went to somebody else for flooring, very good pricing, and then it started failing, and that flooring supplier slash installer talked to customers and said, no, we told Hillcrest this is not a good product. You did? You think I would have bought it if you told me it was a product that was going to fail? Well, we told you. So they didn't stand behind. They worked against us. It was really bad, and we'll never go there again. And I think it's also important for us to have a substantial enough company like for say flooring like Drexel, because if there's a manufacturing problem, and I have some small installer that just buys some product here and there, there's no leverage with the manufacturer, and I say that to our customers.
In our
very
industry,
important.
especially in flooring, they will not stand behind it.
Right.
We even say they can even. So you send out a third in the flooring industry. You send out the industry, which is insane. They send out a third party inspector, which takes maybe 4 weeks to get them out there, and they're third party.
Yep.
And they
supposedly objective.
Supposedly objective, but they will fail. They will tell you it's within warranty. 98. I'm making that number up.
Out of warranty.
It might be more than 88% of the time that it is not warranty. They will fail it every time.
Too humid or too dry, or something.
I just have never ever seen the claim come through.
Right.
But it's crazy, and I'm such a psychological guy. The homeowner, because they felt the inspector and they feel that we care, they're assuming the opposite, that there is going to be help. Yeah. And they've waited 4 months, and they get a letter in the mail that you and I are not part of, which is even crazier.
Yeah.
So we don't get the letter. They get the letter that just simply says to you, Marcus, hey, your flooring actually is not in warranty because of X, Y, Z.
It's either an install issue or a home issue.
100%.
And so then the install, and the customer says, that's an install, that must be Hillcrest.
Yeah. And they've waited 6 months for this answer, assuming it's going to be a good answer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then we all stand there and going, I don't know what to tell you. It's a bad product. So yes, we have to, I think we've done a better job of that in the last 12 months. We keep working toward that with our manufacturers. We're taking on the liability, basically. It's like, I'll be you, but then you will give me a phenomenal price, because I'm going to cover, when these problems do arise, I'm going to cover your warranty on your behalf. Some of the conversations we have. That's important.
And that pretty much assures you my continued business in that category, because otherwise the risk is way too high.
Yeah, and it lasts forever and ever, and it goes from flooring to cracked drywall to I don't even like this house at all. And we got to look past the $8,000 that we're maybe chewing there, but we'd already negotiated that back with our manufacturer, and we look at the big picture of Oyvind of saying, yeah, $8,000, put it in tomorrow, so that homeowner's happy. So we are already at that time. Huge, big, giant billboard. Oyvind Solvang from Norway, Utah, Chicago. You've lived in the United States longer than. Are you a U.S. citizen?
I'm actually gonna be now. See, part of why I'm not is that Norway only recently allowed dual citizenship.
Oh,
and
wow.
so I have some things going on over there that I didn't want to sort of just let go of. And so, but now I can, so I'm gonna be studying here soon, and
Wow, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
But other than that, let's say it this way, I have all the obligations, but not all the privileges of, being a permanent resident, so it's practically not an issue anyway. Yeah, so I don't know. Hillcrest, we are unique in the broadness of our coverings, both geographically, all of Southeast Wisconsin, in product price point, because we go affordable all the way up to very high end, and in product type, meaning single family, whether it's subdivision or country builds. We build more what we call off-site builds than any other builder in Wisconsin. So to set the house, well and septic, all that, and not the least that we customize. We have in-house design, outstanding designs, and so when you put it all together with energy efficiency, then I think we're pretty unique.
Well, that's your elevator speech, but what's your billboard say?
Billboard says, "Build with Hillcrest."
I love it. Oyvind's a very, very complicated guy, but yet he can simplify things very well. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. Thanks for the business. Thanks for your friendship. Appreciate
Well,
it.
thank you, Joel.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Cheers. Peace. We're out.
Yeah.